Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with the leader and baritone saxophonist Adam Lee of the LA Swing Barons. He was on the road from a gig in St. Louis en route to Kansas City for a weekend gig promoting their latest debut 2017 album, Kansas City Stride, for the weekend of June 22nd to 23rd, 2018. He talked about how they have been enamored with Count Basie to get that sound they have, how they developed it in Los Angeles, why the Kansas City jazz sound is so important in the annals of the history of the idiom, and so much more. So please get to know him and the band and dig this interview, my friends.
Okay, Adam, you're on the road.
Yep.
Thank you for taking a minute out. You're on your way to Kansas City. So where are you now? You're playing tonight, correct?
Yes. I reckon I'm about an hour out of St. Louis. We played St. Louis last night.
Okay.
And we are on the road in this stuff. It's water. It's falling from the sky. We don't have that in Southern California.
Oh, that's right. You guys are from the land of sunshine and limited rain. Yeah. The only thing that's predictable about Missouri weather is that it's unpredictable.
Well, there you go.
So you're getting probably what would be considered normalcy, but yeah, it's kind of sprinkling here in Kansas City, which is a relief because all of the plants and everything that has chlorophyll is just breathing a sigh of relief right now.
Sure, of course, yeah.
So, but at any rate, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz. This is what we do. We do Kansas City, we do jazz, and you guys from LA are cooking up the right batch for what we did. So thank you for taking a minute out.
Of course, my pleasure.
So before we get to your latest album, Kansas City Stride, I want to know, how does a group of cats from LA get so enamored with the Kansas City scene that this becomes the focus of what you do as jazz musicians?
Well, I mean, it sums it up with two words, Count Basie. And for me, when I was a kid growing up as a jazz musician, it was always that Basie sound that was like the thing to go to. And then as I moved on and I became a swing dancer and I started learning about dance, and just the best music to dance to was always that Count Basie sound, and then tracking that back to that riff-based sound where Count Basie got his ideas from, and all of his predecessors, Benny Moten and George Lee and all those folks, they were creating this riff-based sound that just, as a dancer, it just really struck me. So, that's where I come from. And then I put together this group about 3 years ago when I was out in Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, you can't throw a rock without hitting a Frank Sinatra tribute band kind of sound, those crooners and that really like loungy style big band music. Or you get a bunch of modernist style bands like the Gordon Goodwin, Big Fat Band, stuff like that. But there was really nobody doing the Basie sound. And so I said, all right, let's put together an outfit. And so I threw together this group, and we've been going for 3.5 years as the LA Swing Barons. The Swing Barons is, of course, a tribute to Count Basie's Barons of Rhythm. And that's where we are. And then
Beautiful.
Here we are, coming out to Kansas City itself with the whole band, and looking forward to really getting a chance to dig in this place that's our spiritual homeland, so to speak.
Beautiful. Sounds full circle. So, I've had the opportunity to talk to some cats that have been around long enough that saw Count Basie live. So my question to you would be this. As the motivator and inspirator of your band, what would you say to Count? If you had a chance after the show, he's sweating, he's sitting there, he just killed it, and you have the chance to go up and say something to him as the guy that kind of curated who you've become as a musician, what would you say to him?
The thing that jumps to my mind is thank you.
Cool.
Because, yeah, that sound that he put together, the quality of sound, Basie himself had such a impeccable sense of timing, but he also surrounded himself with just these other musicians that were just incredible. I mean, as a saxophonist, Lester Young, Jack Washington, all those guys were really inspirations for me coming up and learning to play and like listening to the way they phrase their music, the way it's just got this real sense of the blues, the way it's got this real sense of just impeccable timing. You know, that all comes from that concept there. So yeah, thank you would be what I would say if I had the opportunity to say a couple of words to Basie.
Beautiful. You know, from what I hear, you know, with the way jazz is going, you know, the big band sound is really something that it's never really gone away, but it almost seems like it's getting a little bit more prevalent in the entirety, the macro look in jazz. So my question is this, I'm always interested. How hard is it to keep together a 14-piece act that can not only travel but be cohesive in a hometown, say like LA? How does that happen?
It's really difficult. It's really difficult to put together a band this size to keep it moving. But, you know, I found a solution, and that was that I pay the guys money, which sounds like a little bit of a joke. But, you know, the solution is to come up with, you know, you have to be serious about it. Say, I'm going to pay for rehearsals. I'm going to pay for gigs. It's not going to be a huge amount of money, but you know what it is. It's predictable.
Beautiful.
And rehearsal to me is a very important thing. When I think back to those bands of the Golden Era of Swing, when I think back to Count Basie, when I think back to Duke Ellington, I mean, those cats were playing together all the time. They would rehearse together, and then they would perform together, and then they would head off to the after-hours jam sessions together. And I've seen a lot of bands in my time as a musician, in my time as a swing dancer, a lot of bands that are maybe approaching the size of a big band, and every one of those players in that band might be an amazing musician on their own. But when they come together and they're just reading a chart, it doesn't have the cohesion. So rehearsal was always a key element for me for making the swing bands work. And you got to pay for that. You got to pay for people's time. But that makes it really hard because, you know, people, organizers, events, they don't want to fork out the money that it takes. But, you know, when you have 14 people on the stage, that's 14 professionals, 14 people who have spent their life honing this craft. And to say we don't want to pay these guys is just, well, it's just rude.
Without a doubt.
We take gigs where they pay, or we take gigs where we know that they're going to just really be passionately involved in what we're doing. We never take a gig for less money than we have to cover the cost, unless that gig we know it's going to be people that really care.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the difficulty.
Yeah, absolutely it is. So, your first debut album is Kansas City Stride, released in 2017. That had to be pretty thrilling to release this album with the namesake and to have it kind of materialize. Is that true?
Yeah, it was a really nice project put together. You know, we did a lot of preparation, a lot of rehearsal for that recording session. We had a good, nice group of people playing on that gig. Brian Shaw, the guy who engineered the whole thing, is just a real wizard. His recording studio is amazing. He just really knew what he was doing to make it sound good. And we recorded all of us. So we don't have the vocalist on our album, but so 13 instrumentalists. We all recorded in the same room. So there was no multi-tracking. It's all just a bunch of musicians in a room playing music and getting it recorded. And, you know, we worked really hard on making sure the music was right and accurate. And then, like I said, Brian, who did the recording and engineering. He's just a real master of the craft and a jazz musician himself, so he knew how to balance everything, put it all together, and it really came out with a real polished sound, which I'm very proud of.
So you're coming to Kansas City, and you're going to actually play here in the town that's kind of brought you your sound. What do you want the crowd, what do you want the city of Kansas City to get from what you're doing?
You know, I know that there's people in Kansas City that are still working on maintaining this legacy of Kansas City jazz, but I know that the city at large maybe has let a little bit of this rich history out of their minds. I think the average Kansas City citizen maybe doesn't really know just how important the city of Kansas City is to the development of jazz as an art form. So in terms of reaching out back to Kansas City, I just want to make sure that everybody there knows that, you know, there's people all over the world who think that this music out of Kansas City is the best jazz that ever was and maybe ever will be. So, you know, that's what I want people to know, that you know, we love it. We love it all around the world. And we're trying to make it stay, make it stick.
Absolutely. Amen to that. So you're going to have a lot of people in this town that are getting ready to go into a weekend that you're going to play here for, and they're going to be looking through magazines, and they're going to see posts online, and they're going to come across your name. You have a chance right now to tell me and tell the audience, why should they come out and see you? Why should they see the LA Swing Barons live in Kansas City?
Oh, that's a great question. Why? Well, if you want to see some really top-notch musicians who really are showing a love for Kansas City jazz, putting it on with all of the spirit that it deserves, come out and see us and see how we're keeping this tradition just going real strong. And especially a shout-out to Vine Street Rumble, who's going to be playing alongside us on Saturday. We're going to be doing a old school style battle of the bands in the friendliest possible of ways. But this is kind of an unprecedented thing that hasn't really happened really in Kansas City or anywhere since the golden era of swing, to hear two bands playing this iconic style of jazz side by side and just bringing this amazing music to everybody's ears. Should not be missed.
Sure, yeah, I think you pitched it well. Adam, thank you for taking a minute out on the road. Have a great time here in Kansas City. Get some barbecue, get out and see some things, and I'm hoping that I get out there live at either night and catch you guys live.
Yeah, we're playing tonight at Chesterfield and Saturday at California's. Tonight is 9 to midnight, and then California's is 2 to 4:30, I believe, tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you again for taking a minute out, and good luck here in Kansas City, man. It's great to always see practitioners of this Kansas City sound, you know, immortalize it and keep it going.
Absolutely. You couldn't keep me away.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Los Angeles, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Adam of LA Swing Barons for keeping that rich Kansas City history and the jazz swinging in 2018. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.